allow me to proceed once more in my fog of clarity. And let me quote something some of you may have read. Let us go, you and I, when the evening is spread across the sky like a patient etherized upon a table. It's a journey. It's one of the lines in Eliot's, it's the beginning line of Eliot's poem, Proof Rock. And I had a dream. I had a dream. I had a dream. I think everybody has a dream every now and then. I had a dream. And in my clarity of fog, as in Proof Rock, there is a fog going on all the time. And I chose this line because for me, it's a reference to survival. There are a lot of images that are conjured. You know, when you hear this line, it's a poem. It's something that is a result of a person's imagination. Something that we prize highly in the world of culture. The culture out there that is still functioning on some level. It is primarily dysfunctional, as I've always said. I make my presentations with a premise. And the premise is that there is a personal conflict. You may not notice it all the time. It was more hidden maybe a few years ago, but I realized with the circumstances that I see myself confronted with what we understand to be a reality, which is not what it appears to be, people. The reality we understand exists as a solid fact. That truth out there is not what it appears to be, as truth is a moving target. I've said so often. I will repeat that often. And people that are focused and living in truth are delusional, because truth is something that fluctuates with the dream, like a patient etherized upon a table. I think possibly as well that some of my commentary is not meant to be exclusive or high-minded, although thoughtful people enjoy. I enjoy other thoughtful people reflecting on things that matter. This is also very important. And I had a dream last night. I had a dream, and the dream is kind of actually just a portion I remember of it. It was quite ridiculous, but I felt as I woke up it had to do with survival. Survival. Something that is among a certain contingent among presenters that I follow on YouTube. There's always this undercurrent, this sensibility about survival. And I thought to myself this morning, and I don't need to go into the dream because it's my self-analysis of this dream. You know, people may not agree with it, but I just woke up with the feeling that there is a level of affluence we exist in that tends to, or it appears that we are not really engaged as we once were in the idea of survival, but nothing is further from the truth. That affluence is not a mechanism or a state whereby we have overcome our inner anxiety in regard to survival. As an example, I'll just say, if you look at people that, relatively speaking, earn a lot of money, let's say Bezos, the richest man or one of the richest people on earth, well, when is enough enough, right? What, like, how many billions? And I think I saw, this was, who's the filmmaker that did Sicko? And I loved his film on Flint, Michigan, and Chrysler closing down, that guy, the chubby guy. He confronted, I think it was the Nike chairman, said, you know, you have a million worth, you have a net worth of $1 billion. Would $500 million be enough? And the guy was perplexed. It was like, why would $500 million be enough if I can have $1 billion? Like, and people that are athletes, they get contracts, especially soccer athletes, that make $50 million or even $100 million a year. When is enough enough? So my conclusion, what I think is that affluence is not something that will displace this almost fundamental, maybe it's an aberration even now at this point, the idea of our survival, both personally and collectively. And I've been going on about Fukushima and the nuclear monster, which is a real threat against all of life. We have passed possibly a point of no return on this pollution because there's so many of these plants with isotopes, waste from this process that is so devastating to the environment, biologically proven. And people like Owen Benjamin comes out and says, yeah, it's a big hoax, doesn't believe it. He quotes Galen Windsor, the mouthpiece for the man, the mouthpiece for the industry who swam in the fuel pools. People, there is definitive proof that the technology that comes, or the waste that comes out of this technology, nuclear fission, whatever that process might be, I have no concept of how this works on a microscopic level, what in fact is happening. We have explanations, but there is a byproduct that is so lethal to biology, to every living being, plant life, animal life. It's the same. It's dangerous. So, all right, I'm not going to, this is a discussion that I could go into, but again, it's something that highlights what is out there. I'm really quite interested always in my presentations. There's a personal conflict going on that I talk about when I make my presentations. I'm literally expressing a personal level of doubt, the questions that I have about my own life, how I respond. Like this morning, I had this overwhelming sense that my feeling, the thing that really motivated me after this experience, as I came off the etherized patient is opening his eyes and looking at what's around me, and I say, well, what is this thing that creates a level of anxiety within me? The way Prufrock experienced, he deviated and he started going into culture as an aberration. Eliot is about the dysfunction, fundamentally, the dysfunction that we encounter as we become acclimatized to what is understood to be culture. And the experience, my primarily urban city life, he was a city dweller. He was quite a religious person, very, I think the word in German is verklemmt. He was uptight about life in many ways. So, but I take something from these imaginations, these ruminations that poets, for example, like this person had, and I understand it in my own life. It comes up in my sleep. Goodness, what happens? I'm asleep, and the next thing that is going on is like a reflection of what it is to be alive and under threat, survival. And okay, so here are my thoughts on this circumstance that I find myself to be in, and what does it mean to survive? Is it a question? Is it primarily related, as we always think of, in terms of a physical survival? And yes, of course, like I say, we're under threat with the nuclear pollution, Fukushima, and all the other plants that are providing us with good reason for the anxiety that I feel, but I'm not going to be interested in that topic right now. What I feel is a more substantial aspect to our survival, which has to do with allowing a part of us, some aspect of our nature succumbs to this high level of anxiety, either comes out on the other side, which is represented, to me anyway, in people who have come out of this inner state of anxiety around surviving, whatever that means to you and to me. You can focus on the physical world, but I think there is a level of survival that we generally don't acknowledge within ourselves that has something more to do than just the physical existence that we lead. And I'm not diminishing that. I'm just saying this is actually very likely, as my dream suggested, much more profound. As Eliot suggested, it is worth an investigation to be in an altered state, etherized, to actually allow ourselves through a dream state to get into touch with something that may be affecting our day-to-day lives in such profound ways, like an athlete making 50 million or a businessman making billions a year or having assets of $1 billion. It's never enough. Where does that come from, right? Where it makes no sense. It's irrational. Like most of culture is totally irrational. The ritualized behavior in culture is irrational. And I think for the most part, it's meant to undermine this inner sense that we have been given, along with another part that I call conscience, that indicates some aspect to our nature that could, I say could, alter our circumstances substantially. To focus my attention continuously on the outside world will not create any changes in my environment. That's what I'm saying. And with all respect to the people that produce content on YouTube, in the media, that focuses on things out there, which exist in some form or other that I don't totally understand, but it exists, is like searching for a needle in a haystack. The truth, as people see themselves to be purveyors or pilgrims in the search of the truth, I'm saying the thing that I realized after I woke up is that this search is something that happens within each of us that manifests itself in some form of function or dysfunction on the outside world. Okay, and now I'll sort of go into this feeling that I have about survival and what could be the alternative to survival. What is it within each of us? And when I say survival, obviously, it creates a level of anxiety. It's like being subjected to the megalithic monster with jaws the size of a Mack truck that's going to eat you up. I'm just saying. So this sensibility, this sense I have as I came from my dream on survival, is primarily directed to the honky part of the population, my clan, the white Western types, the honkies that have this incredible level, or what is perceived to be this incredible level of affluence and well-being from a physical, from the idea of the physical world. Yet there is this peculiar level of anxiety in everyone's lives. You have to look at yourself. I mean, you can probably convince yourself that you don't have any anxiety, but even if it's like the tax man cometh, I don't know, whatever it is that rattles your cage, that makes you feel uncomfortable or anxious about something. But I'm talking within the framework of our existence. The affluence is supposed to displace any kind of sense of or a feeling that we're under threat, meaning like the caveman running away, Monty Python, run away, at an impending threat against our well-being and life even. So why is this anxiety among honkies? I know it's a derogatory term, but I kind of see like my clan as having failed at the gifts that we were given, having failed to use the gifts we were given. But this is all part of the plan. I see this as part of a bigger plan. I will get to this now. The idea that we are subject, or that we are susceptible to feeling this level of anxiety as I woke up from my dream, which has to do not with my physical world being that I'm being under threat. And I'm not diminishing anyone that is facing physical threat, even from the point of view, something that I was subjected to as a child in school, the bullying. I immigrated from Germany when I was 11, and my mother made me wear these leather pants, these short and three-quarter length knee leather pants, and kids thought it was so ridiculous for me to walk around like that, and they bullied me. But my mother insisted because I guess, you know, I was a dirty kid. I rolled around in the muck, and the leather pants are very easy to clean. They get like very shiny and stuff falls off them. So yeah, German children don't have a problem with this. But in Canada, when we came to Toronto, I think I was subject to the bullying that happened because I looked different. Or maybe helped me on some level. But okay, so the point is that I have this awareness that no matter what my environment may provide for me that says you're secure, you're fine, there are governments, armies, great monumental armies defending us from the evildoers in the East. The what did Reagan call those guys, right? The evil empire. So we're always, and the terrorists now, we're going to be under threat from our survival is at stake. Well, this hooey seems to have caught on in people, not because it's real in the real world, or it's an actual threat to survival, but there's something more fundamental in our nature that we've not been able to assuage or extinguish within our perception of ourselves in this existence, the way we exist every day. Now, that's curious. I think that's curious, considering that we have all the facilities at our disposal. We have food stores. We have a local Loblaws or IGA or whatever you call these mega stores that have shelves filled with stuff, and people roll through with their carts and they're filled, and they pay $500 for all the stuff they load into the carts, and half of it or more of it is thrown away at the end. But this is part of the anxiety that happens, right? And it's provided for. I mean, the stores are there. People, why do you have to load up the way you load up, and where's that coming from? That's what I'm saying. I'm not immune to it. I mean, I admit I'm not immune to it. It's like, and there is a side to this. I'm not going to get into it, but there is a kind of being independent. And farmers, when they farm in the summer, they harvest and they keep a whole bunch of stuff in cold storage. So when the winter comes, you have it. This, I think, is a really good idea. Even whatever, if you're living in a city, you do have certain things on your shelf in your cupboard that will let you survive for 6 months. I think that's a great idea, but I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is why it's never enough. Why it's never enough. And this is where I think many imaginative people have attempted to deal with this, like Eliot in The Wasteland, or specifically in the love song of J. Alpha Prufrock, that there is an innate anxiety. It seems to have been represented very well, specifically among the existentialists who focused on this idea. And I like thoughtful people reflecting on this, but they never get to they never satisfied my innate understanding of this. And I'm not entirely convinced about the specifics. Well, let me put it this way. It varies for each person. I think this is important. So here is my conclusion on this, on the dream. I had a dream about the anxiety based around survival. That as I wake, as I come out of this fog the etherized kind of state, the dream state, I am aware of the world around me all of a sudden, and the world is a threat. And there is no reason for it to be a threat. And where is that coming from? And my conclusion, I reflected on this. This is my own personal, as I say, my own personal conflict. What I decided was that, in fact, I'm not living the life I feel personally I want to live, or I'm not proceeding toward an expression of this being that I am, innately that I am. There is an innateness to all things that exist. It's not arbitrary. This is a fabulous kind of the mystery. It is not an arbitrary thing where you have a discussion about, oh, does God exist, not exist? You know, it's like random, like Carl Sagan. It's like just bumping things together. And if you bump things together for billions and billions and trillions of years, you get 747 airplanes emerging just because things bump together. Well, that's not how life works. There is an innate quality to everything that manifests itself, especially when it comes to you and me, people. We are something. We are stuff that actually has some kind of relevance in a scheme of things, and we can't figure it out. What the hell is going on? Why am I me, and why am I feeling like something that I don't like feeling, and how can I resolve this? Oh, I'm gonna make $100 billion. It'll be all solved. Oh shit, no, it's not enough. 200 billion is better. That's what I'm saying. So what is it? You got to ask yourself somewhere. And it's got nothing to do with, okay, yeah, if I had, just a little bit more. Of course, yeah, a little bit more. And I don't want to undermine people that are really struggling in their day-to-day lives in order to make things work. And literally there is like the power is cut off if you don't make your payments. I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about the perception we have of ourselves as not living the life we want to live. That's what I'm saying. This is where the survival part comes in. And where is this survival thing? This is an instinct, I think. This is an instinct. And before this level of affluence displaced this instinct in a superficial way, it still exists. Like we're no different from the caveman, whatever that individual might have been, expressing themselves to produce images. Like this is like 30,000 years old, supposedly. Like where the hell did this desire come from? And it was, as far as I'm concerned, my conclusion is that there is an incredibly profound and extended existence that we lead, other than the reality that we face every day, which has a huge impact on us. And what is it that I will do to counter this coming out of this dream state, which is I'm living my existence in this dream state is on another dimension that I don't understand, and no one has been able to explain it. What the hell is bloody dreaming? Who the hell knows what that's all about? And no Jordan Peterson or Freud's or Jung are going to realize this in any meaningful way for me. I haven't seen it. They come up with, like all science comes up with complex mathematical equations to explain a theory, but it's just a theory, and it's just arbitrary conjurings. And I prefer the artists, quite frankly, to their conjurings. Like a T.S. Eliot will get me closer than a Jung, for example. That's what I'm saying. But what is it that I want to get closer to? That, what the hell is going on? What do I want to get closer to? And anyone that listens to me and is kind of invigorated or even remotely interested in what it is that I'm bringing up. Like very few YouTubers actually have an interest in this. Even people like Stefan Molyneux, the philosopher, the YouTube philosopher with 2 million subscribers, yeah, way ago, or 1 million subscribers, and Jordan Peterson, the clinical psychologist who have figured out the mechanisms of the world, the golem. I know who the golem is. Well, no, they don't. I haven't gotten a definitive sense never mind an answer, but a sense even that he's close. These Peterson types, they're not even close. They're not even close. And what it is, fundamentally, my conclusion, and I may change this. My conclusion about the dysfunction of the world is based on on this inner anxiety based on our survival, which is very far-reaching in terms of the reality, the physical reality we experience. When this is not addressed, when this is not understood, that fundamentally we need to live the life we want to live. Right from the get, all the time, every moment, every second. It's like kids playing. They don't play at something, oh shit, I don't really feel like playing this, but I'll play it anyway because my buddy likes it. No, they play together because it makes a lot of sense. This is really what they want to do. I remember this when I was like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I was still pursuing my dream, my physical, the reality, the real world out there. My dream was manifesting itself every day, other than, of course, school, was like I was living the dream. What I really wanted to do. I didn't feel any anxiety when I was playing, when I was doing what I really wanted to do. And this is the problem. People, this I think is the problem. That's what I'm saying. You're not living the life you want to live as long as you have an anxiety. And the real world will fall into place. I mean, we have constraints, we have needs, desires that need to be taken care of. I understand. I'm not disparaging or undermining that. I'm saying that our physical world becomes more difficult as we live a life, as we do not live a life that needs to be lived. I can even refer to it as a calling, that each soul on this planet has a calling, has an innate quality that needs to be lived. And as long as it's not lived, it becomes problematic. And this instinct for survival, and I'll conclude it here. Personally, my conclusion is that, as I've said many times, I have a romance with eternity. Well, what is that about? What does that mean? And it means that there is, this is speculation on my part, but it's pretty damn compelling speculation, I would say. Even religions refer to it as heaven and hell and all this kind of thing. That there is an aspect to our immortal soul that may be threatened without, at this time, the more people are able to live this innate quality within all of them, each person living this, as this does not come to fruition in that span, in that 70, 80 year span, I'm talking again, Western civilized world, oh, we're living a lot longer. Bunch of hooey too. If you take infant mortality out of the equation, people lived a long time before as well. Yes, I agree. Generally speaking, there is a longer life term that we have, but there have been many indications of people living to 80, 90, 200-300 years ago. So, but the point is that we have this time frame, and we need to actually be very aware how important it is, this time that we have, and its relationship to eternity in terms of this thing I'm bringing up about survival. And this idea of survival could very well have something to do, this anxiety that billions of dollars don't cure, is actually related to this sense of ourselves within the mystery that is considered to be an eternity. I'm just bringing this out for people who are thoughtful and concerned and want to make a difference, in the sense that the world could actually be, this existence, this reality could be a much better place. No one would argue this. I think everybody would be on board with this concept that the world could actually be a hell of a lot better than it is what we're experiencing now. Aside from all the conflicts and all that stuff, I'm saying it would be a hell of a lot better if we began to live every moment the way we want to be. Considering the frustrations we might have with all the constraints on us to do certain things, I'm saying, yes, I'm an older person now. I'm not 7 years old playing, but I'm saying we don't need to give that up. Even if we have a part of that still functioning, things would change incredibly fast. The anxiety levels would not influence our decisions every day. That's what I'm saying. And I had this dream, and it's a personal conflict, not resolved necessarily, but certainly I began to reflect on this in another way that I do, like in my paintings, I deal with this anxiety every time I make a painting, trying in my way to articulate this sense of well-being, even though there is also this awareness that eternity is not a cheap uh, it's not a cheap keep. It's an effort. It's an effort. Even though we say, oh, it doesn't matter. What matters is my $500 billion success empire and all that. Whatever that is, whether that is whatever level that might be on. I'm not talking about actual money. I'm talking about having a vision of an empire that you want to build. Well, it'll never be enough. That's what I'm saying. So I had a dream.